Right, so now I've checked the end float on the crankshaft, which is just about within tolerance. That's great. Then I've taken the crankshaft back out of the crankcases, and we're going to fit the Conrods. So a few things to note. So you've got your two Conrods, and they only fit one way round because there's an oil way there in the sort of base of the Conrod, which corresponds with the hole where the top of the shell. So what happens is that oil goes into the oil pump and is then force fed down the end of the crankshaft through the hollow crankshaft on the timing side, through the galleries in the crankshaft, and is then forced out at high pressure out of the holes in the big end journals. And these are the big end journals, which are plain, so that's why they need high pressure oil. But also then there's the main bearings either side, which, as we know, are roller bearings. They're not plain bearings, they're roller bearings. So they still need oil, but not at the massive high pressure that is on the big ends. So what happens is the oil comes into the bearings and is then forced up through this little hole. At least some of it is. A lot of oil will come out the sides, obviously, but some oil will go up there and then spurt out of the that little hole there. And in doing so, it spurts out onto the roller main bearings. So lubricating the main bearings. So you've got high pressure feed to the big ends and low pressure feed via this little hole to the main bearings. And that's why it's important that we have the Conrods the right way around, because that spurts out on the main bearings. If you put the other way around, there's no hole. So then the oil will just be spurting into the middle of the engine and not doing any good. So to that end, you have a pair of new shells. These are 10 thou oversized because we've had a 10 thou regrind on the big ends. So I don't know if I can go to focus. I normally can't. There you go, 10 thou, upper 10 thou. Now it says upper quite handily, and it will also say lower. There you go. These are the shells. Now upper, as you can see, it's got a hole in the middle and lower hasn't. That's because the lower goes in there and the upper goes in there, and the hole in the shell corresponds with the hole in the Conrod. So obviously pretty important to get that the right way around. Okay. Another thing to get around the right way are the bottom half of the Conrod. They're marked. Again, there's a stamp mark there, and with a corresponding other side to it. Come on. There. And what it is, when you put them on, you got to make sure that those marks line up. Because what you can do is accidentally put the bottom on that way round, the marks there, and it's not right. So you have mark to mark, and they're all slightly individual, so you can't really get these. Hopefully, can't get these two mixed up because the marks will be in a slightly different place. So you make sure you've got the right bottom with the right Conrod, and above all the right way around. Then we'll be putting the shells in. Now also we've got these big end bolts here. Now sometimes I don't replace the big end bolts, sometimes I do. Blah. Anyway, decided that we are going to replace the big end bolts on this time. Here are the new big end nuts that go on the bottom of the big end bolts, and you always replace them. The thing about the big end bolts is they stretch. They're designed to stretch, so that they can weaken, especially if someone's worked on them and maybe they've over tightened them or something and stretched them too much. So anyway, we decided to take that decision to replace them. Now, as ever, you often think, well, that's a bit of a no-brainer. The problem being that is, some of these may not be as good as the original spec. I mean, 9 times out of 10 they are, but I happen to know of two big batches of big end bolts. Both of them were wrong. One about 4 years ago, one now. And they actually had the wrong threads. But if they can't even get the threads right, can they get the actual... These are made of some special steel. Don't ask me what, but I know it's a special steel and very strong and that allows them to stretch. But if they can't even make them with the right threads on, then you rather worry about the actual consistency of the metal. But anyway, we're going to change them. I'll come on to this later on. You'll find that you probably can't see it now, but the heads aren't central on the Conrod. The heads of the big end bolt are off to the side. They're like elliptical. Yeah, and so and that is designed. We'll see later on when it comes out. And all that does is then the bolt can't turn when you tighten up those nuts, because it's like an elliptical head that holds it and stops it from turning. So you've got to make sure you put it back in the right place. We'll come on to that when we do it. But that's what we're going to be doing. Okay, I'm just talking you through why we're doing it and how we're doing it, and before we actually go on and do it. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lightly heat the Conrods and then see if I can just drive out the old big end bolts, which hopefully will come out easily. And then we'll put the new big end bolts in to replace the old ones. Right, I'm just going to heat up the Conrods a bit. You have to be a bit careful with this because you've got unequal heating. So that means we're heating the bottom but not the top. And if you overdo that, you can introduce stresses and that into the metal. So be careful. Also, I'm just checking the edges of the Conrod for any scratches, etc. I don't know if I mentioned that before, because if there is any scratch at all, or bad scratch or dent or nick on these Conrods, then that becomes a focal point for the stresses, and these Conrods are under massive stress as they go up and down, like several thousand times with a piston on top and huge explosions happening and so on. So we'll check them again, and if there are, look, the oil's just beginning to sort of boil out there. If there are any nicks or anything, we need to just gently sort of rub them down so that they don't become a focal point for any stress. Okay, I've heated them a bit. You never know, maybe they'll come out, maybe they won't. So they are just a push fit. We'll see. There we go. Oh, there we go. Okay, so they're out. And I don't know if you can see now that the head is off centre. So on that side it's virtually next to the, and on that side it's furthest away. So the holes are off centre in the Conrod. So you have to make sure you get the head in the right place when you put the new bolts in. Good. Okay, let's do I'll do the same now with the other Conrod. So the old big end bolts are out. So then, as I say, I'm going to go through, I'm just going to check the Conrods that there's no scratches or nicks or anything, and if there are, we'll just get some fine emery cloth and just rub it down, and then maybe a bit of Scotch Brite pads to finish off with. Notice that I have marked the Conrods when I took them out, timing side and drive side, so I'm putting them back in the same place. I don't think it really matters which side, but I think it's always good to put things back where they came from. What I'm saying is I don't think it matters if the Conrods are swapped over as long as they both face outwards, but I think it's still best to put them back where they came out of. There's a few there's a few little marks and that on the Conrod, so I'm just going to get some fine emery cloth and just rub those little nicks off. It's a 400, yeah, it's a 400 paper I've got here. I think is just enough to take out any nicks, but without being too aggressive. Okay, yeah, there we go. I've just rubbed them down, polished them up with a bit of Scotch Brite pad, got rid of all the nicks and scratches as far as possible. So I'm happy that they're good for another few thousand miles, another 50 years, whatever it is. Okay, so then we're going to put the new big end bolts in. Get the head in the right place. Yeah. Make sure that head is in the right place and fully honed. That's fully honed now, so it can't turn. So that's first job done. Next job will be to clip the big end shells, the new shells, into the Conrod, into tops and bottoms. So we simply click the shells in. So we make sure we've got a top shell. It's got a little cutaway at one corner. Am I in the right place for the camera? I think so. There's a little cutaway in one corner, and the Conrod, you've got a little cutaway in one corner. So the two cutaways go to each other. We line it up and hopefully it literally just pushes in. There you go, just clicks in, and you can see the hole in the shell lines up with the hole in the Conrod, and the little tangs, just to stop they basically stop the shells from spinning, because obviously if they spin, then that will block off that oil way. And then we'll do the bottom shell, which goes in the bottom part of the Conrod. Again, we've got a little tang, so tang to tang, little cutaway, and again they just push in. Am I in the right place for the camera? I think so. There you go. There. Obviously make sure there's absolutely, what you do not want is any grit or anything underneath these. It's like having a stone underneath a carpet. You'll end up with a high spot on the inside of the shell, because any stone or any grit underneath the shell will eventually push through the metal and make a little bump on the inside. So it's got to be scrupulously clean. It's got to make sure that bearing shell is sitting totally without any grit or anything on it. Okay. Then we have the assembly lube. Okay, now assembly lube is slightly different to normal engine oil. It's thicker and it's a bit stickier, because what we do is we put that on, and this engine might not be started for a year or so, because it's going to go back to the owner, who's then going to put it in the bike and finish the rest of the bike before he gets the whole thing started. So if we just put ordinary engine oil on, then that engine oil will slowly seep out, as anyone will know from wet sumping. It will slowly ooze out, and so it's sitting there for a year, and by the time you come to start it, there'll actually be no oil on all the important bearing surfaces for the first, which obviously when you start a brand new engine up, that's very important that everything's lubricated. That's when it's going to wear most, its first sort of 3 minutes of life. So we use a semi-lube which is thick and it's sticky, and so that's we're going to put those on the shells, on the bearings, on the journals, and on the shells. It's good liberal coating, so that will stay there. And when the engine's first started, it means that these parts will have lubrication, and we're going to be using this throughout the build. And then at one point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the crankshaft on its end, and I'm going to pour oil down, because in the middle of the crankshaft is a little chamber. So I want to fill that with oil, so that again, when the engine started, it's already got some oil in there. Otherwise, it's going to take a while for the oil pump to fill the crankshaft with oil before the oil even starts lubricating the bearings. And so I'll fill it, and I'll probably put a little piece of tape or something over the end to stop the oil coming out before we get the timing cover on, which will keep the oil in there. What you want to be careful of, if you ever plug up an oil well, you shouldn't never really do it, because there's always that time when you forget to take it out, or a bit of the plug gets stuck, which obviously is a complete nightmare. Because then you've got a blocked oil feed and you've got one seized engine.